Hi everyone, and welcome to my show, The Elite Performer. My name's Sally Guest. I'm a high performance coach, trainer, and writer specializing in elite performance. I'm really excited about my show today. The Elite Performer is all about exchanging information, inspiration, and education with people who have been elite performers themselves or have really dedicated their lives to developing human potential. So today, my guest is none other than my beautiful sister, Jaclyn Kemp. So Jaclyn comes from a background in elite sport. She reached number 12 in the world at squash, and she has a Commonwealth Games gold medal to her name. So if you want to talk elite performance, I believe that my sister is one of the go-to people to have a discussion. So thank you so much, Jack, for being on my show. And
Okay.
and first of all, maybe just share with everyone because you grew up playing squash, playing tennis, playing a lot of sports, and you are the only one in our family of four children who actually really took it to the next level. So what was it in you that made you want to become an elite performer at squash?
I think it's a lot of different things, to be honest. I kind of fell into it in a way because I went to university. So at the time when I was studying, I was playing squash as well, but obviously not full time. And after I finished my degree, thought rather than getting into the grind of a job which I'd have for the rest of my life, I thought I'll give it a go playing squash. At that time, I think I was probably about maybe 50 or something in the world, and I just thought to myself, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So I think I was 22 or 23 years old, and I went full time, and then I never looked back, to be honest. Yeah.
So, but fundamental to that decision, what was it within you that had that real desire to kind of step up and make a difference in the sport?
I think that I can't really say, to be honest. That's quite a hard one because like I said, I didn't actually intend to be a professional squash player for my whole life, which a lot of the people that I met when I was playing, they always wanted to be squash players, and I never did. It was when I actually started playing and I realized within myself that I could get better. A bit of dedication was all I needed, like practicing, doing all that kind of stuff. And it gave me a great sense of self-satisfaction, I guess, when I did get better and I started to move up the rankings and stuff. I mean, when I initially started, my goal was to get into the top 30 in the world. And I'd already done that within, I think, about 18 months of playing. And I was kind of like, okay, I've got more in me than this. So I don't know, just I think it's quite a lot of determination. Being the fourth child, you're always wanting to beat your siblings and stuff like that. So I think it was always there, and I just channeled it into squash. That was just what I chose to do because I loved playing.
I must
So
admit that I still remember the last time I beat you.
when was it?
I think it was at Royal Oak Squash Club in Auckland, and I beat you 10-8 in the fifth.
And that wasn't it because Kyle's gave the worst call ever at 8 all. I remember it too. I remember.
So I still hold on to those wins when you were like younger and not as good. But so I'm sure that you probably agree with me that you chose squash to become an elite performer. But there's so many different areas that people might want to step up. It might be financial, it might be business, it might be in their relationships or whatever. And the principles are always the same. So, what is the first thing that you needed to address, or what would you tell people is the first thing that they need to address if they're wanting to kind of go from, being a high achiever, moments of brilliance, to actually being consistently an elite performer?
I think the most important thing, and the thing that I always saw with all top squash players, was that they brought their their sport into every facet of their life. So you can't just be like, oh well, I'm just going to train hard and eat well, and that's enough. Like you actually have to bring it into every single facet of your life. So pretty much everything you're doing has to be focused on the goals that you want to achieve in your squash. And also, I think being pretty specific with those things that you need to improve, because I think what a lot of people do, like particularly in sport, and I'm sure in other things, is they play to their own strengths. So you like doing these things. Oh, I'll just keep on practicing that. I'm good at that. When actually you've got to do the hard things, and you've got to do the things that you perhaps don't like doing that much, you find difficult. But those are the things that are going to make the difference. Because, I mean, basically, when you get to a certain level in sport, everybody can do, X, Y, and Z well. And then you get the top players, the 1, 2, 3 in the world, and they're doing extra things, and that's because they've basically just they've just turned over not left any stone unturned, and that's why they're better, basically.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, in business, there are certain things that you can delegate, but you still need to keep your finger on the pulse, and you still need to understand how every aspect of your business works in order to really become an elite performer. But with sport, you can't delegate your training.
No, you can't. Exactly. And you can have the best person in the world telling you exactly what to do, but unless you're willing to actually do it yourself and put the hard yards in, it doesn't really make much difference, to be honest. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So you brought up an interesting point about 1, 2, 3 in the world. So at the time that you were 12 in the world, Nicole Davis was #1 in the world, and she was extremely dominant, like for many, many years at that level. What would you say was the difference between you and Nicole Davis?
I mean, Nicole's actually almost what we would call a freak of nature in squash, because she's the best player that's ever been. Like, she was world #1 for, like, I can't remember, like 10 years or something like that. She's only recently just got down to #5 in the world. Nicole is basically what I was saying before. Every single thing that she needed to do to be a top squash player, she was doing. So she had physio, she had a massage therapist, she was doing off-court training, on-court training, she had a psychologist. She was just basically doing everything. And but with Nicole as well, she had wanted to be a squash player since I think she was about 5 years old. So her whole life had been dedicated to achieving that goal. I mean, she was a brilliant junior as well. She won the World Juniors when she was 15, which is pretty phenomenal. Considering she was up to 18, So yeah, I think that she's a very dedicated person. She still is now. Now that she's gone down in the rankings, all she wants to do is to go back up. She just has that doggedness about her, which a lot of people, when things don't go well, they're like, oh, it's too hard. I'm just not good enough. Whereas she just doesn't have that. She's like, okay, I've lost, fine, but I'm going to win next time. So she just has a different mindset, I think, than a lot of people, including me, for sure. Yeah.
So if you really boil it down, would you say it all comes down to mindset? Is that the real difference?
Yeah, I actually do think it is, because you can see, if you look at the top 10 players in the girls and the boys, men, male and female, they'll all have things that some will be good at, some will not be so good at, but they're all good players. So the thing that you're seeing with them is their mindset, like you said. So they're working on their weaknesses, and they're using their strengths as well. And it's basically them being able to put that all together. Because they're not all the same. You'll be like, when you're a junior and stuff like that, you might see a guy and go, oh gosh, that guy's such a good player, but he might not be fit or fast. And you see a guy that's really, really fast, but he might not be able to hit the ball so well. So it's just all about being able to bring those things together, I guess, and being able to, and then be able to bring it all together and perform while you're playing matches, because you can do all the training in the world. You can be brilliant when you're playing a practice match, but then you get onto the stage and, it's a mental battle, basically.
Yeah, that's so true. So the people that are watching, they're not all elite athletes. In fact, some of them are business owners, some of them are career driven, some of them, just want to, be really fit and healthy. So what would be the biggest piece of advice you would give to these high achievers to really make the difference and step up to be an elite performer in the areas that matter to them the most?
I'd say the biggest thing by far is to not be resistant to change, because I'd say that was probably my biggest regret when I was playing, because I found it difficult to do the things that I didn't like. So, practicing certain things which I didn't think I was good at. Um, and I think that that is pretty much what everyone's problem is. They just, they, I mean, having the belief in yourself that you can do these things, because I think you've talked about it before, the inner critic, you know, you're always telling yourself, oh no, I'm not as good as them. I can't do that. And it's actually not true.
Mm.
Like, if I could go back 10 years and I knew what I knew now, I mean, hindsight's obviously an amazing thing, but if I could go back, I would believe that I could do a lot of the things that I was telling myself I couldn't,
Yeah.
and I think that's the most important thing. It's not like a belief in just, oh, I can just do anything. It's like, if you work hard at those things that you're not so good at, you will get them better. And as a result, you will, everything about what you're doing will improve. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome advice. Thank you so much for your time today, Jack. Love talking to you as always. And actually, I'd really love to kind of get you on another time and get some more insights from you, because this was really, really good. So thank you so much.
No worries.